Hey, when it comes to sports legends, certain names come to mind: Jordan, Jeter, Brady. And to fans, they're as much their number as they are their name. For example, when you think of number 23, you think Michael Jordan. But there are a lot of sports greats who shared the same number. So the question is, who owns that number? ESPN's Mike Greenberg teamed up with producer Paul Hembekides, to break it all down in their new book, Got Your Number: The Greatest Sports Legends and the Numbers They Own. We welcome both men this morning. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. I finally made it. All those years I worked at CLTV,
right.
All I wanted to do was get on Channel 9. So here we do. I finally made it.
Well, I can tell you from experience, Mike, you made better career decisions than anybody sitting at this anchor desk right now. As a matter of fact, Greeny, I think when you started at CLTV, my esteemed colleague down the desk, Paul Conrad, had just left. And I wondered how long it took you to clean up the mess that he left there for everyone who was still there.
I think they're still doing it out there in Oak Park. I think it's still going on.
Hey, I don't know that there's anybody happier about Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets than Bears fans. Until I heard you on TV all the time talking about amputating toes if they got him on the team. Have you come down at all? Have you come down to a normal level of excitement?
Don't be ridiculous. Jet fans don't start coming down until the season begins. This is our best time of year. This is when
there's no games
we are
being
at our
played.
most excited. Exactly. We haven't started losing yet.
Gents, you guys go over a lot of athletes in this book and with numbers. And, I got to start with the first one is Michael Jordan, number 23. I think there are so many athletes where there's no argument, right? Like this guy owns the number. 23 is Michael Jordan. But it's one of those things that, the number 23, I feel like people who are not even sports fans, people all over the world, they see the number 23, they know Michael Jordan. Do you think that's a correct assessment?
Oh, absolutely. And Hembo, I'll let you jump in with a couple of numbers that even the most ardent Chicago fans who are old enough to remember the 90s might be surprised to hear about Jordan. But I mean, the best example I can give you of this is that when my wife and I celebrated our 23rd wedding anniversary, she said, "Oh, we're in our Michael Jordan year." And I don't think that people do that with any other number from sports. And what I love the most about the book, and Hembo is the best researcher in the sports industry, is that even the most ardent fans, I mean, I was there every day with Jordan in the 90s, covering them for The Score and then for CLTV. But he came up with stuff. Hembo did research on all 100 of these that floored me, even on Michael. So, Hembo, give everybody a little something on Michael that even the biggest Bulls fans may not know.
Well, for example, now we live in a world in which these NBA superstars load manage continually, constantly. And Michael Jordan played 82 games in each of the last 3 remaining seasons that he played in Chicago. Michael Jordan won Defensive Player of the Year in the same season in which he won a scoring title. That player doesn't exist anymore. No player in the NBA, no matter what magnitude, or how much gravity they might have, is that relentless night in and night out. And so for me, as a younger sports fan, like Michael Jordan for me is mostly a distant memory. I didn't live his career the way that you did, certainly. And so to sort of relive that through the numbers was a real thrill for me. And Michael Jordan and that dynasty is really well represented in our book.
Yeah, I think another number that a Chicago athlete owns, and there's no argument over it, is number 34 in Walter Payton.
Absolutely. When I got to Chicago, I went to Northwestern and I arrived in September of '85. So, and that was at a time when there was no direct TV and there were no, even not really sports bars where you could go and watch your game. So even this New York transplant who was a Jet fan watched every second of every game the '85 Bears played. And that was actually just slightly after Peyton's actual prime. And yet I continue to maintain that is the greatest team I ever saw. We gave the Bears that team 85 also. Not only does Walter have number 34, and Mike Ditka has his number in the book, and there are several other Bears, but Peyton was an easy one. There are other really good options, Hembo, for 34. But when we sat down at our first meeting, I said, well, let me just say this. Walter Payton is 34, and there's nothing else to discuss because my wife would throw me out of the house. I met and married my wife in Chicago, and my wife would unquestionably, she would come on Channel 9 and tell people not to buy the book if we gave 34, Hembo, to anybody else.
Well, Charles Barkley wore 34, so did Hakeem Olajuwon, and so did David Ortiz. So that actually is a fairly loaded number. But all you need to know about Walter Payton, look, you know better than anyone, obviously, him having retired the NFL's all-time rushing record, I think a lot of fans still kind of consider him that person, even though Emmitt Smith someday surpassed him. The most remarkable thing to me about Walter Payton's career is that for a franchise now more than 100 years old, he caught more passes than any player in the history of the Chicago Bears. He's a running back. He has more catches than Hall of Fame wide receivers. I mean, the players like Walter Payton did not exist until Walter Payton came along. And now in the NFL, of course, now you see these multi-purpose backs, all the way across the league. It started with Walter Payton.
Well, I thought one thing you guys did that was pretty creative in the book, listen, there are some numbers that come to mind. You don't necessarily think of a player right away. Like nobody's hearing the number 65 or 79 and thinking of somebody like they're straight. I didn't use any other number there that I could have used. But there were other numbers that you just would apply to a guy, right? Like the number 97. Like you would think, who's 97? And you guys came up with an interesting way to attach that to someone.
Sure. And it's not just that one. But when we first sat down, when we first had the idea to do the book, my idea was that every one of these would be attached to a uniform number, like 23 or 3 or 99, some of the really obvious famous ones, 42. But then we realized, and you're seeing Tiger Woods on your screen, in our very first meeting, Hembo and I realized, are we about to do a book about the greatest legends ever that doesn't include Tiger and doesn't include Muhammad Ali and doesn't include Billie Jean King and doesn't include Serena Williams and some of these other legends that came from sports that don't have uniform numbers? So Tiger, we decided we would find numbers to attach to them. So we gave Tiger 97 because that's the year that he won the Masters. And I think that you could very neatly define golf history as we know it, maybe up until this week. But prior to, I could have said to you on Monday that you could divide golf history very neatly into the period before 1997 and after Tiger won in 97. He changed the sport completely and forever and for the better. And that really, Hembo, is the moment that it began.
I agree with that entirely. And to underscore your point, though your idea at the beginning was quite simple, in the end, only 56 out of our 100 chapters are players with attached jersey numbers. 20 chapters we have assigned to records. We have 18 assigned to years. We have 5 golfers. We have 5 boxers. We have 5 Olympians. We felt it important not just to match players with the corresponding numbers that they might deserve or own, but also, candidly, to represent more than a century of American sporting life. And there is just no way to adequately do that without some of the names, Greeny, that you mentioned.
All right, Mike, Hembo, thank you guys so much. Congratulations on the book. It's called Got Your Number. For more, follow these guys on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks a lot, fellas. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you.